Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gym Owners Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Stone. Over there's John Fairbanks. Morning, John.
Good morning, Tyler. I am highly caffeinated.
Me too. We've been up
I want
at
you to know. I want you to know.
We had a first call this morning at 5:30 this morning, so we've been busy. Great consulting calls. If you are looking for some one-on-one stuff and you don't want to get involved in our kind of constant ongoing business development program with the Gear Academy, you want us to work with you directly, shoot us a message. We do have some options available. We kind of run everything from your business plan to your concepts. If you're before starting, maybe trying to just develop your personal training stuff into something a little bigger. We break everything down into actionable steps based on your plan, your goals. We're not here to tell you whether or not your idea is good or not. We're just trying to tell you everything that we can to make sure that that idea has the best chance of succeeding. Make sure you have actionable plans towards that. So you want to get involved with that, just shoot us a message at the Gym Owners Podcast on Instagram or at the dudes at hackyourgym.com. You can all find me on Instagram at Tyler F. and Stone. That's Tyler E-F-F-I and Stone. And John?
And you can follow me on Instagram at jbanksfl.
All right, guys, we've been reading some headlines and kind of got a little fired up. We were going to have a very technical, execution-based business conversation today, but I think we've done a few of those lately. We just were scrolling through the news, and I struck a chord with what I've been doing a lot lately with my coaching. We are going to talk about Ozempic, Mounjaro, whatever those weight loss, the GLP-1 drugs that are out there, whatever that whole series of apparently wildly successful, biggest company in Europe, right? Isn't that company now is literally the biggest company in the European Union as far as like valuation? That's fucking pretty nuts. So don't assume that the biggest company in the world is just going to go away. First off, make fucking very clear of that. Okay, these guys have become as much as Boeing fucks up, they're still here. So I think that these guys have become like kind of on that level. These guys aren't going anywhere. So these medications are here to stay. The reason they're here to stay, and I want you guys to understand this, tons of fucking people are using them and tons of people are having success with them. So those of you coaches out there, I do not recommend that you take a high road stance on these drugs. I think you need to be accepting. I think you need to understand. And I think you need to also understand how these work. I recommend that you find people who are taking those medications and you coach them, not because you're a doctor and you're a genius, but because they need help. They need help because eventually they need to get off these medications. They need help because of the things that they're going to experience while they're on these medications. They need a guiding hand in regards to just some basics of nutrition, maybe a little workout stuff. And they need to start to build habits that can equip them to be successful for life after they're done taking this medication. Because I don't like the idea of being on a medication that has that much control behind the wheel for life. I don't like that any more than I like someone just throwing any fucking, whether it's antidepressants or any of that stuff. Like any drug you're taking with no plan to walk you back out of is a fucking scary situation in my life, in my life.
I have shared this story before, but we'll bring it because it's very applicable. Like it is really important. The fact, I don't know how many people are actively talking about the getting off phase of these drugs. And I have a personal story where it is a family member of mine, right, has struggled with weight gain. She's had her whole life, right? She's been struggling with it. They got her on the medication. She was doing it. Her insurance stopped covering like one of the shots. So then she had to shift to another shot. Like it was one of these things where she was kind of mired in it. And when she kind of was like, hey, I think I need to step back, her doctor was just pushing the idea of getting her subscribed for or prescribed for another year's worth of the medication, kind of like upfront.
Yeah.
So it was this idea or this acceptance where it just is like, no, we're on this, you're on this forever. Like you're always going to be doing it. And I think that is, if that's going to happen, as we see sometimes with pharmaceutical and with doctors, even if we take the most apologetic view, which is they didn't realize that, all the fucking bad shit that hit here in Appalachia where I'm at, getting everybody hooked to back pills. They didn't realize how addictive they were. The same doctors are going to fall into the same trap where they are going to listen what's being told to them. They're going to push it the way they think at this moment, what they're supposed to be doing, whether or not they're going to be getting a kickback. It's irrelevant. You have to have another voice that's around these people, around these topics that can say, okay, if you're going to do this, then we need to have an exit strategy and an exit plan.
And by the way, let them, when they're on it, there's a process. Now I've coached a handful of guys that have taken these medications, about 4 or 5. 2 currently that I'm working with directly, and one who's tells me in about a month, he's He thinks he's ready to pop off. And I will say this human being is, I think, ready, but I'm not sure how much of the driving is being done fully by the medication. Now, I want to touch on something first before I get into how we want to guide these experiences for people. It's only based on my experience, and you need to get out there and have some experiences so that you're able to understand kind of how you want to manage this. But my wife had a client who got on. This was back when it was only the Ozempic brand with the Ozempic administrator, your method of administration that patented. The dose and method of administration is the only thing they can patent with this. So now there's tons of compound pharmaceutical operations that are compound pharmacies that are basically able to put this stuff together very affordably. I mean, in my opinion, I think it's probably around the same price as TRT, maybe a little bit more, but not much. But it used to be very prohibitively expensive when you're on the brand name Ozempic. So she was on the original, lost 20, 30 pounds, felt great, but then couldn't afford it anymore because it was never in insurance for her. Got off of it and it just boom, put all the weight back on and then some. That's because people tend to take a let Jesus take the wheel approach when you get on these medications. Okay. It's the thing that I think works with these the best is especially on the Mounjaro one. Yeah, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right or not. I don't know. But whatever.
Ballpark, 80%.
That one, as it's explained to me from the people that are taking it, the original basically will just get your gut. It's going to slow the pace down. You're going to feel satisfied much sooner. You're not going to feel too hungry, but it really is going to kind of slow your rate of digestion. Things move a little slow. Like constipation isn't necessarily what's happening. Things are just not making a very quick path from A to Z. There's not where things aren't hauling ass through you, But this other one, the second one, Mounjaro, as I understand it, is also very effectively kind of can stifle the urges. It almost removes food thought. They both describe it as being smooth, but removes any obsession over food. You don't crave it because you don't have that first moment of hunger, whatever that switch is, whether that's a real switch of being hungry or whether it's a psychological switch that but that switch gets hit in people's brains and they feel like they're hungry and they feel like they need to eat. This removes this on the front end as well. So instead of just punishing excess, which will work, right? You know what I mean? Dog jumps out on the thing, you swat him off and you give him a little yelling and he's going to go on there less often. And if every time he goes up there, you go, hey, what the hell are you doing? That dog's going to figure that out pretty quick, right? This not only does that, but it also puts a fence around it and says, hey, you don't want up here. You know what I mean? So for this particular client that I have who's about to come off, he is on that particular drug. That drug has done very well for him in the last few months. He was on the other one before. He has accomplished a few things that I think you guys need to help your people accomplish when they're on these medications. The first one is they need to constantly be developing new habits, all of them. You cannot just take the medication and let what happens happen. Because if we're letting what happens happen when people take the medication, I'm not going to crave food, which meant, you know what? They never had to address any of the bullshit that went on with their decision making when they are a little hungry. So when they go and eat a little bit of ice cream, they don't want to overdo it because it actually doesn't feel good. Okay. I believe that is obviously a good thing. And that is the reason that they're going to be successful. But they need to start to understand while they're losing weight, that the reason they're losing weight is because they're eating less. So they need to start to calibrate their minds with the quantities that they're actually eating. And that means, and I don't recommend this for all my weight loss guys, that we meticulously track and weigh all your food. It's a tool, but it's not like the fucking plan that I like to use for my normal weight loss guys. For people that are on these medications, I think it's an absolute requirement. So I need them to know how many calories exactly they're getting in. And most importantly, because they don't have the desire to eat, very often you'll hear people getting that Ozempic face or like an Ozempic wasting away syndrome where they lose all this muscle because they're so satisfied from the food, from whatever they eat, that they almost don't ever, if you're going to put some carbs, some vegetables, and some protein on your plate, and you eat a little of each, then you're going to be full. You're not going to be getting enough protein in, guaranteed.
Well, even like here in the States, right? Like you go out to eat, you go to a nice restaurant, you go to even a not so nice restaurant. It's what is your eating? What's the system in which you're going to eat? They're going to bring you out some bread.
Yep.
So you have some bread, you got your drinks. They're going to probably bring out a salad, a soup, or an appetizer that you've ordered. And then whatever your core entree is going to be, which most of the time, right, for warm-blooded fucking Americans, is going to be some type of a meat with another vegetable side, right? The problem is you're talking about this idea of like not getting, you no longer have like those dopamine hits that come from ice cream.
Yep.
The problem is like you being cut off and your body telling you you're no longer hungry for whatever you're eating. It doesn't matter what you've eaten. So if you've now done bread or you've done the salad, the problem is now, guess what? You're not fucking full and you've just eaten the salad. And that's all you've eaten.
So for anyone that you're coaching that's taking these medications, I highly recommend that you set their protein mark, and that is priority number one for a little while. First priority is, so this person's eating like well over 200 grams of protein every day. This person was about 350 pounds when we started. By the end of the week, he'll be at 250 pounds. That'll be almost a year, nearly a year to the day. So that's 100 pounds lost. But that is
Is this the dude that lost 100 pounds before he got to you?
No.
Okay.
This is a different one. Yep.
Okay.
This is a different one. This one had lost about 40 of it before he got to me.
Okay.
So good enough. But
still like he has but like a lived experience of like, I've lost weight before
Correct.
I've started working with you. So it's lost, and now you're going to lose as much, if not more, now working with you. So you'd have a really solid before and after.
Yes. And now we're making it a system. Like I said, the plan is I need him to be better. I cannot let the medication do it all. Right. The medication very often is like a driver's ed instructor. It's one thing if motherfucker on the other side of the car has got a brake. But if he's also got a steering wheel, I mean, what the fuck are we doing? At some point, we got to cut the cord here. So that's what I'm trying to do. And in this case here, we do resistance training. We're just lifting weights. I'm not crushing him with cardio. He's got a fucking job. He works. Does he work that hard physically? Probably not. But I'm not trying to overwork this person. My number one goal, get the protein in so that what we're losing is not tissue that we want. That should be a priority for everybody. But when somebody's appetite is absolutely neutered, honestly, which is what this does,
right?
They're going to have tons of success in weight loss. Let's just not let them fucking get into a situation where we got to undo some of that stuff. I don't want to undo anything that this stuff is doing. I just want to take the opportunity for them having success on these weight loss drugs. That time buys us time, buys them momentum. It gives them something they want to keep. And it's really fucking important to me that they learn how to keep that because they want it. They like it. They're proud of it. And so we need to build the habits that support it. So in his case, we're lifting weights. We do it twice a week. That's it. Upper, lower, a little bit of core on each day. That's it. It's very simple. He works hard. I push to get a little bit stronger. We're working on mobility. Your body changes a lot when you lose 100 pounds, guys. So like being able to move and carry yourself around, your squat's going to be very different with 100 pounds of belly out of the way. Right? So we're just moving. I want to stimulate muscle, and then I want to give the body all of the building blocks that it needs in order for that stuff to stay around. And then I can cut the calories as low as we fucking want. Honestly, you really, really can. I do not dictate how many calories he eats. I let his appetite dictate it. But now he's been tracking for so long. He weighs in every morning. He sends it to me. Okay. Every single morning he weighs in. He weighs his food every day. He knows, he tracks his food. He knows exactly how many calories he's had. So when people will say that, like, you're just on the medication, what, you didn't deserve it. This person works harder in his food habits. And honestly, that I'm not joking, in the gym, in every set, is willing to die. Like really, like we'll go from set to set. Hardest worker in the gym that I coach, and hardest worker in regards to tracking food meticulously out of anyone that I coach. So I will not allow anybody to like take away his credit for this success, because he is truly doing the work. But we will know once the medication is gone. So having tracked this now, he's at 200 plus grams of protein a day. Oftentimes his calories are less than 2,000, 1,800, 1,900, right? And there's days where he'll get stuck and he'll make the decision. He'll be stuck for a few days and go, you know what, I'm just gonna tighten up. He'll go chicken breasts and fucking protein shakes on 2 of those meals to like make it extra lean, extra low calories. And he'll have a few days in a row where if he knows his weight's been stuck, he'll hit like 1,500 calories. Still right. At 200 grams of protein. That's a fucking chore, by the way. And that can be a little joyless, dude. That can be a little joyless. But he does it and he continues to work. But now he's in control of the decisions. if he was not tracking like this, if he was not weighing his food, if he didn't know what was going in and doesn't know how many calories he's eating, what happens when the autopilot is turned off? Right?
You'd have like
Don't know
you'd
where
have
to
no
go.
bearing, right?
Doing, yeah, and so if this medication, if he didn't have these habits, showing up to the gym a couple times a week, being willing to work his fucking ass off, tracking his food meticulously and having high protein intake and knowing exactly what quantities he eats to maintain his weight loss, he can lean on those things when the craving comes back, when the
Right.
urges come back, when the hunger is there. He can go, no, because if I eat 3,000, I haven't had 3,000 calories in fucking year. Why would I do this now? That he would know that that is a lost day. And this way he knows we've defined what winning a day is. So we know that. So now he can win in spite of how it makes him feel, which is important. So we remove the feeling, we stack lots of wins, we build successful habits. And then when we remove the crutches, they're there to stand on their own. And it's, it's going to be a little uneasy. The wind's going to be blowing strong. The winds of craving is going to be there. But
Yeah.
now he has all this other stuff to lean on.
Is just for anybody that's listening, like I don't have this experience of working with anybody that's been using Ozempic yet.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of experience of working with young athletes over 15 years old, right? So like high school age boys that have a metabolism that's kicking ass and they cannot eat enough food. Like they're underweight. They need to be able to, it seems like almost these principles that we're talking about, you could utilize these principles over there as well, which is this idea where it's like their bodies just naturally, they don't want to put it on. Their body doesn't want to add the weight. They're going to burn it off. They don't. So it's an issue of like not less calories. They need more calories, but it's like more of what they're eating. Because every young guy that's just kicking ass and cannot gain weight, to God save their life, as far as they're concerned, right? They're like, well, I eat a lot. I mean, I was just talking to a guy, but it's like, I'm like, tell me what you're eating. Like, what is your regular day? And he goes over his stuff, and I'm like, ballpark, maybe 60 grams of protein, maybe.
Yeah.
And it's
And
like,
a lot of
dude,
it too is when guys that are so yeah, on the other side is when guys that are smaller and they say I eat a lot. What they really mean is I can eat a lot and I sometimes eat a lot.
mhm,
Because then they'll tell you the story about the biggest meal they had in the last 10 weeks. No, I went to Burger King. I had 2 double Whoppers, bro. And I was like, great. But you need to eat. If you're trying to grow, do that fucking every single day, in addition to a shitload of other food. And then you can tell me you eat a lot. Don't oftentimes people same thing when they're trying to lose weight. People will they'll get confused between a thing that they do sometimes and a thing that they do all the time, or a thing that
right.
they can do and a thing that they often do. Those are not the same thing. Much like people go, I don't eat that much. I eat a lot of vegetables and stuff. It's like, no, you have some days where you don't eat that much, but your average is still pretty we're not going to beat the math here on this one. And so when everyone tries to get big, I love it when little guys tell me that stuff, because it's, again, I don't like to be the person to say, I know you think you eat a lot, but that's not a lot. And for guys that are smaller trying to get bigger, I very often pump it up the other way. And I've tried to force feed little guys. It doesn't work.
Well, and for me, I love the principle, the idea of like the prioritization of the food that you're eating is what
Yeah.
was key. And that was like, I broke out the simple app, right? I'm like, you don't need to be doing this, but start to get an idea of how much protein you're actually
Start
consuming.
there. And then
And
we
I'm
can
like,
build
hey,
around. Once you're able to
yeah.
track, then you start figure out how much is in this, how much is this. And then you can play the replacement game too.
He's like, well, I drink a lot of milk. I'm like, okay, so let's break down like how much protein is in this milk. I'm like, all right, you would need to drink a gallon of milk
Yep.
every day. I'm like, but it would be far easier to do this. And I just showed him like a reasonable amount of chicken breast that he could eat at night. And then I just showed him like eggs. I'm like, so like I eat a dozen eggs, right, for breakfast. That immediately gives me like, I think it's something like 50 grams of protein or 75 grams of protein, whatever it is. And he's like, I could never eat a dozen eggs. I'm like,
That's why
right.
nobody will remember your name.
But it's like these simple things where it's like, right, understand you don't need to do it all at breakfast. It's like start to, because again, it's the excuses come out. It's like, well, I don't, we don't have money, we don't have this, whatever. It's like you can prioritize
There's a way.
getting protein, but it comes back to this again. I'm not derailing in this direction, but it's this idea of the prioritization of little guys. You can't eat enough food. You just can't. So we got to prioritize what you're going to eat that you can force feed into your body. It has to be like premium what we're going after if you want to build muscle, if you don't want to lose muscle, if you're on Ozempic.
And on the side of not losing, that was our mission number one, right?
Right.
Because I knew here's the deal. We knew the weight loss was going to happen. This is the nice thing you have. The weight loss is going to happen as long as they're on the medication. So your job now is to teach the lessons and to you curate that process so that the other negative outcomes, you're there to buffer against those things.
Yeah.
You're there to optimize the outcomes here, right? And equip them for success beyond that. In this guy's case, since April, now this message he got sent was maybe a month old, just probably more weight off. But since April, he's lost 50 pounds of body weight or 50 pounds of fat. Because he does full body scans. He's got the whole scanner thing at home.
Sweet.
50 pounds of fat and only 6 pounds of muscle has been lost. So you lose 56 pounds and only 6 of it is muscle. That's fucking pretty incredible.
No TRT?
No TRT. None. No, none. So, but that is, again, like a brutally consistent high level of protein and a very low calorie intake while doing just enough work to stimulate muscle preservation. And he's going to get stronger because he's new to training, right? So we're making progress, mobility, movement quality, muscle definition, everything. But we're still really on one mission right now, right? So I'm just trying to make sure that this one direction we're moving, that we try to scoop up as much other wins on the way as we go. And I'm just there to kind of block away the stuff that's going to fucking derail him. Now, for him to get off, right? And it's the thing that's we talk about. The other thing that I don't do is I don't pretend that this stuff isn't happening, and I don't avoid these conversations. I think that's really important. If you if you have a client who you think is taking it, ask them. If you have somebody out there who is taking it, who you know, reach out to them and say, hey, because by the way, that's a person who's so invested in their success, they're willing to jump out on a limb and start paying money and just start taking fucking
for a brand new medication
for some. I guess it's been around for a while. My research on my understanding of the product itself is very limited. It doesn't matter. There are people who are trying to lose weight who need help, who are seeking me, who are taking this medication. That's why I'm just in the situation. I'm the person that they're talking to because I'm not being standoffish about this. So when he gets off now, what is this mission going to be? For me, the goal is to have him do everything exactly how he's been doing.
Right.
That's it. The only change is now he's got to feel it. You're going to feel hungry. You know what I mean? You're going to feel it. You are going to feel that you're going to feel the cravings. Maybe not hungry because he hasn't, but another thing in training for this long is we train pretty hard, but it's not, again, it's only a couple of times where he's able to recover. I still was concerned about a void in recovery, that we were going to slowly drag this man into hell, that like at some point he's just going to get crushed, that his brain would feel foggy, that he'd feel tired. Just being in that heavy of a caloric deficit for a year is not something that I would recommend. Normally we go 3-4 months, we chill at maintenance for a couple of weeks, try to push the calories up without gaining weight, and then we try to pull back down slowly again before we pick up the pace. That's like how I do it ideally, just so that you don't like break somebody's soul. Because if you see people go bodybuilding prep, it's this game of constantly removing, and you get to the point where people can't accept the such small amounts of food that they are eating, that's why they end up doing bunches and bunches of cardio on top of it. It's like you got to spend 2 hours on the thing just so you can have more food, so that you don't jump off the building you live in. So for this guy's case, we're going to do everything, but the habits are already there. Right? I don't have to tell him to track. He doesn't have to learn how to track. He's done it every goddamn day. You don't have to tell him to weigh in. He doesn't have to know how much. He doesn't have to learn any of these things now. He just has to do exactly what he's doing now without the bumpers in place,
And seeing gains, right? Like it's the idea of like that new dopamine hit is going to be hitting from a different angle. It's like I've had family that have done the gastric bypass surgeries.
Yep.
Like I've had them do, and you just, and the worst, in my opinion, the worst scenario is, which is what I've watched in my family, is that they're over the age of 55, they're over the age of 60, and they do it.
Yeah.
And you're already at risk of like having already like eating away all your muscle tissue anyway, because of that age, because these aren't people that like work out.
Yeah.
So then they go on like liquid diets because they had to he was so big, he had to lose weight to show the habit was there before the doctor was willing to do the surgery.
And honestly, that's something I would probably say I would do before with any of my clients before I let them come off this medication. So you can prove to me that your habits are so consistent, and the only way is in tracking and hitting those marks. as the doctor probably should be doing that, honestly, but they're not. The doctors don't even talk to them after this. It's the same thing with TRT. These doctors around here, like they just prescribe it. There's no guidance on how it is or how it's going to go. You're just off to the chat forums.
Right.
Like that really is what it is. There's no guidance on what to expect. Really, there's nothing. It's here you go. That's just the way that it is here. How many times you see people with gastric bypass that eat their way right through to the other side? They get progress for a little bit, but and that's the issue, it only punishes on the backside, meaning you eat, you can still overeat. It's just going to be uncomfortable. But every time you do it, it's a little less uncomfortable than the time before it until the thing stretches and stretches and you just eat your way to the other side. That happens all the time. That's what we want to avoid here is we need to build the habits so that if someone derails and they don't have these crutches, they don't have these bumpers in place, that they don't completely fly off the handle, that they always have the habits they can lean on. They know what they're doing. Now I have another client who is on the medication and is still he's successful only because it helps the way that he feels about food and makes him not that hungry. He hasn't addressed anything, refuses to track, and he's been successful, but it's not, I'm not ready for him to come off of it. Right. Because he's not ready to come off of it. He knows that too, honestly. Because I think if left to his own devices, truly, some of us are only a couple weed gummies away from an absolute fucking spiral in the kitchen at 10 or 11 p.m. You know what I'm saying? It's okay. It's okay, guys. Everybody's human. But I think that that is something that we need to protect people from. So they need to you're going to have one of those moments. You need to, all right, what did that really cost me? How many calories did I really eat? Holy shit. And if that amount of calories is in glaring contrast to how consistent you've been before, you're going to go, Jesus. We're starting to write some good behavior software here. And that's the goal. Yeah. So that's kind of my process as far as like with the guys I'm working with this.
Now, to go back to the point you made at the very beginning, which is this idea where it's like, hey, these drugs are here to stay. And I think this takes us to where we're starting to see now, right? While we were doing our headline hunt to get ready for the episode, is this idea where you're starting to see more noise around the fact that the government and the military are now starting to adopt these drugs, right? For soldiers, right? Because of the idea that we all know, right? BMI is at all-time high. They have to continue to lower the standard for folks that are coming into our armed forces to be able to get it so they can actually make the qualifications of the different branches that they're coming to. So what is the government going to do? It's like, all right, we got to help these fucking fatties get less fat.
This study on this subject here says the U.S. and this is the U.S. Army. So this number is the whole U.S. military system, but this is an Army kind of story here. Evidence-based obesity identification and treatment in clinical settings is the most effective and economical approach to this recruiting problem, obesity issue. Military fitness programs at best on average only reduce body weight by less than 1%. That's Russ. And after leaving the military, veterans are at much greater risk for obesity.
Of course,
all these things
it's the same reason. Look at fucking look at football players.
Yeah.
Like if you take because you think about what these experience, like if you go to college, they control your sleep, they control every meal that you eat, like everything is done for you. So if you're in a scenario where the food is chosen for you, when you feed is chosen for you, like all those controls are in place. There's no habits that are being built. You're just going from A to B to C, and then you remove all of those constraints. I can't tell you how many dudes I played with that were big 300 pounders that are now 400 pounders.
And what happens, John, by the way, to the ones who learned and understood and built good habits amidst when they had that safety, when they were kind of on that short leash? What happens to all of those guys when their careers end? They get fucking lean really fast.
Every line, like, and oh yeah, like it's like
every lineman who had their shit together, who learns this stuff, once they're out of the program where they're not having all their shit under somebody else's control, they get
lose 100
like,
pounds.
I know what I need to eat. We get right. They'll lose 80, 90 pounds right away.
Absolutely.
Look at Jason Kelsey right now. Lean and mean.
Oh yeah.
He wasn't like big and jacked. He was just carrying around extra weight.
Yeah, the Bouncy
But
Boys are two guys that I played with that were well over 315 pounds, and they both look like maybe they're 225 now. Like it's like,
yeah.
yeah,
So usually guys go one direction or another, and it really depends on did they develop any of the skills that they need to have control over their physique or not during the
right.
time that things were taken care of for them. It's very similar to what we're doing here with Ozempic. This number, John, obesity is the leading cause. I don't know if it's just the army. So there's tons of recruiting issues right now with the military as a whole in this country. I can't imagine why. But right now, obesity is the number one cause of recruitment disqualification. Literally,
It's
like people wanting to serve their country. And it's like 52,000 last year alone were too fat for us to continue this discussion. Sorry, bud. That's crazy.
Could you imagine
That
having the
so right
desire?
now we are in a 41,000 recruitment shortfall, right? If these obese people were in shape, we are 10,000, 11,000 over that every year. If this number is taken care of, we didn't have to change anything else that we're doing. We can continue to do whatever we want to do, be on the brink of global war. We can do regime change wars all we want. We do whatever the hell we want overseas, and we're still going to get enough bodies as long as these 52,000 every year aren't so fat. It's pretty
Have you,
crazy. So
have you,
the problem that solves for an organization with the juice and the money and the funding to solve this problem, that need is very intense, and they are basically pivoting right now to saying it's very likely that they're going to use some of these weight loss drugs, at least out of one of these think tanks that says that like getting or population managed for obesity is important, but also we will use this within our ranks to make sure, and that they may very well be some sort of, I know friends who have went to enroll and enlist, and what they do is they make them spend like 8-10 weeks. They just have them work out and get in shape to drop the weight, and then they
mhm,
send them off, right? Well, I think
yep,
those programs are just going to get more involved, and they're going to involve pharmaceutical weight loss drugs.
yeah,
They said these medications are needed continually. They say right now, what was the thing? They said for them as a whole, the U.S. military would save them $1 billion a year. $1 billion a year.
think about how much money goes to the war machine.
Yeah.
And
So
the idea that like, but on this same point, it's who are people that are signing up? What is that age range? We literally
um,
just did the episode about their 18 to 34 year olds, right? That range where we talked about
and
where the whole
this
fitness
age is like 17 to 24.
and you think
This
about it, it's like, okay. So, and have you ever like dabbled or fucked around with JFK's presidential fitness thing? It was like the program
Oh,
back
the
in the
thing we did.
day
Well,
for
yeah,
like
yeah, we had that.
PE.
Yep.
Like it's like the fact that that shit got abandoned however long ago. We guarantee you can have a direct correlation to the fatness of
Tell you
where
this, those are the only twice a year. Those are the only miles I ran.
for sure,
Sure.
absolutely. But it's like this idea where it's like, okay, the government wants healthy children because then they become capable soldiers.
There you go. Die in
Okay,
war. That's the whole point.
that's
It's
like
not they like
that's
you. You
that's
just need to
the
live a long
goal.
enough, productive, tax-paying enough life to go die in war, or maybe not.
But
Now,
it is, yeah,
yeah. And so the other thing with this is there's a public perception now. It's hoity-toity. A lot of coaches are involved in this. I like that. I'd like them to get better about it. But I have clients who have also worked their fucking ass off to lose the weight and have had to lose their weight in spite, right in the face of all of the cravings. And
yeah,
it's a tougher battle psychologically to do it, especially ones that lost an extreme amount of weight. I have a client who lost probably my fastest pace of weight loss. Was not on any medications, just worked hard, ate, kept his food real tight, all on the low end of my ranges without exception. Fucking busted his ass. He was also very out of shape and very new to training. He did all things right. So he lost weight at a very alarming rate. Borderline to where I was like, are you on, if he was not on Ozempic, I was like, are you on meth?
you
It's
doing
like
cocaine?
38 pounds in 35 days. But
Yeah,
when you're completely deconditioned, a lot of things can change when your habits change really dramatically. So he just bought in and went all in. But I've had clients in that situation that then come across somebody, or they'll tell me stories or anecdotes about acquaintances of theirs who say, oh, I'm doing this. Yeah, I've lost 50 pounds. And then they find out that person's taking Ozempic. And the person who lost the weight without it is telling me, fuck all that shit. What the hell? They're just using drugs to lose the weight. And I get it because you worked really, 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 really hard. But becomes the same conversation as the natty person, lifetime natural person with a mediocre physique being like, well, the only reason Ronnie Coleman looks that way is because of drugs. Well, Ronnie Coleman did a lot of things different than what you're doing. It's not just drugs. Like Ronnie Coleman's Ronnie fucking Coleman. And like my guy lost 100 pounds. There's none of it that I'm taking away from him. Literally none, because I watch what he does every day. And so I have to, in that moment, I have to diffuse that right away, because I do not want that person who's such a great advocate for weight loss to go out there and almost like work against a method that may be the only method that's going to work for some people. So I had to tell him, I said, it's really not that bad. I said, they're not just taking, it's not speed. Like they're not taking it and it's just winding them up. It's not fat burners. It's not anything, but it is addressing something. And if these people, I said, how much weight does this person have to lose? He goes, oh, probably 150 pounds. I said, do you think this person, honestly, in their current state right now, could do what you did 5 times over? Fuck no. Exactly. There you go. So just because they can't do it right now without it doesn't mean that we should wait 8-9 years of them being in absolutely insane, ever worsening health for them to be able to like get the ship righted. This is an opportunity to get the ship right. We're bailing out all the fucking water. Now we got a project, but let's go while we're making progress and heading the right direction. I think it's so valuable for that I much like I will not allow somebody to talk shit about a friend of mine while I'm to me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
You're going to badmouth somebody who I know. I'll always say this, whether it's clients, former people, someone's talking shit about somebody, and I said, I don't know, like, that's really been good to me. I have none of the things you're saying are based on my experience. That's all I can say, right?
Right.
It's like, I don't know. These guys have been fucking great to me. And that's the way I feel about some of these medications, is I have to be like, hey man, I don't know, but it has really changed lives for people. And I mean it, some of my hardest working clients, some people that were almost at a hopeless state now are like fucking in control. They're not just letting the medication do all the work. Like they're really doing the work now. And we're trying to build an exit strategy so that they can fully stand on their own. And if in a year from now, this person is still lean, fit, making progress rate's going to slow down.
Sure.
It will, no matter what. But if they're still standing on their own 2 feet and they haven't skidded too far backwards, what are we supposed to say? This was a net negative? Let's just pretend the weight loss stops, or they put on 20 pounds and they live their life at 260, 270 instead of 360. Who fucking lost? I don't, you know what I mean? Like where did anybody go wrong here? I don't believe that to be a problem at all. So this is still, I think it's such a huge advantage. And I think it's a huge opportunity. So don't fuck this up. Because when the army is starting to prescribe it to everybody, like this stuff is going to be around. And if you're the guy who's like carving yourself out this niche where you're like, fuck this stuff, we're doing shit different, I just don't know what to say. And by the way, John, I've taken this stance knowing full well how little I trust all of the entities involved in our pharmaceutical and medical industries after what went on in 2020.
Right.
And I'm no scientist. I'm not reading the research and going, this stuff's iron fucking clad. Let's fucking give it to babies. Whatever. You know what I mean? There's a line between forcing people to take it and allowing adults to take it. But I still in my head go, we're going to find out in 5 years when all these people die of heart attacks. I don't know a clue. But again, is that worse? Is that worse than living your life obese? But that was the same math they told us about the mRNA shots, right?
Right.
Same math was like, oh, well, yeah, there's myocarditis, but like you're going to get it worse with the COVID. So I'm using the same logic to justify this stuff here. And so listen, I could be wrong, but I'm not the one prescribing this medication. As long as we're not talking about mandating it and firing people from their jobs for it, I don't think I'm being a dick about it. But if I work with people who got the COVID vaccination, right? So I'm going to be here to work with these people who do this. Am I going to recommend it? Am I going to say, go get it for some guy in a gym locker room, just like you're getting your Tren or whatever? No. But if your doctor says that you can and should do it, then that's between you and your doctor. And I want to be here to help the people that are in that situation until maybe we find out that everybody who takes this dies and their heads explode for some god awful reason.
But it's like, you can't teach, like, okay, abstinence is a boring direction to stand because they're gonna do it whether you all want to help, whether you want to help, and anyone that's listening, whether you want to help them or not, they're gonna do it without you.
Yeah.
So then that's where, for me, that's where the line gets drawn, because there's too many things that are gonna happen that society is gonna push, or wherever it's gonna come from, but that it's like, but if you have the knowledge to help someone if they've made that decision, then I might as well make sure I'm on the line of just helping the people that are going to be there.
John, you know how many people were in my community? Very likely, I'd say 4 years ago, that were on any of these GLP-1 or Ozempic drugs 4 years ago. Probably almost zero.
So yeah, let's say nobody.
Nearly zero. Now, hundreds, maybe thousands in a town like this. Small town, but probably for sure there are hundreds, right? Might very well over 1,000. That's 1,000 people that are losing weight, that are getting better shape, that have more opportunities, that also know they need to do a little bit more, especially now and they feel better, they have better energy, that are looking for opportunities in fitness, nutrition now. This is now a part of their life. They don't think that they're so far away from being healthy or fit or in shape. This now, every year that goes by, that number is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Do you want to be able to help those people, take them from their current state, use the things that you know?
Yeah.
You're going to now have them not working against you. You know how nice it is, by the way, to coach people when you tell them to eat, 3 eggs in the morning and a fucking half a potato and a little hot sauce or something, maybe a little sprinkle of cheese, salt and pepper, that like, I'm so hungry though. Can I have my cereal? That fucking sucks, coaching guys that are that big of fucking wusses about their shit. You know what I'm saying? So it is really nice to have someone go, boy, yeah, I barely got through the 3 eggs. Mind if I have 2 tomorrow? Yeah, fucking fine. I don't want you to feel stuffed and shitty all day. Like, you know what? It makes coaching nutrition better. And we're just working on habits. So we might as well work on habits without this little fucking demon in their brain telling them that they can manipulate their way out of this. Or, God, I think I should get a little sweet treat. I think I deserve a sweet treat. My job was hard. The amount of times people will tell me they had a bad day or a bad couple days. It is absolutely addiction. It's like, I had a bad day, man. And so anyway, I just went fucking tied one on. And, and it turns into that scene at the beginning of the Land of the Lost remake where he's like, I ended up powering through this, and I found myself fist fighting with a Subway cutout of Jared from Subway. And then what was that line? It's like, it's a donut filled with M&Ms. That way, when you're done eating a donut, you don't have to eat any M&Ms. Like, it's that level of binge eating that happens when someone has a bad day. They're like, God, it was cookies and pizza. Like, they're not telling me they had a bad day, that all this food was forced on them. Like, my job was stressful, so I fucking spiraled out of control and pigged out. It's a real thing that people do. So if you're coaching people on nutrition and habits, isn't it nice to have that shit not in the way? Because habits are about the habituation, it being done frequently and being done regularly. Right. So as long as we're doing these tasks right, even in spite of there being no noise from their body and no noise from cravings and none of that shit, and they're always feeling full and satisfied. Great. What a good opportunity to win. When you're on a wide open fucking highway and there ain't nobody there and you got 4 lanes to yourself and there's not a cop for 100 fucking miles, why would you not put the goddamn pedal down and go? Right. And so this is the opportunity to cover that ground, to get the progress. We build the habits. Everybody's winning. Yeah, I don't recommend driving that fast all the fucking time. Right. At some point, we're going to have to rein it in. We're going to have to be a little safer. We have to be more particular, be more realistic in the end. But right now, while the getting's good, we need to strike. We need to strike while the iron's hot.
And grabbing people that are coming into what we talk about all the time, which is like this lifetime fitness journey that they're going to take. This is their new entry point.
Step one.
Yeah. So
step one.
And listen, I could make this argument for all the yo-yo diets that are out there, where theoretically that could be step one for everybody, that weight loss is first and foremost in their mind. They're trying to do a thing. Most of the time they're trying to do a thing because, Good Day Today has told them that they need to try this thing. They bought a book or whatever, they bought into a thing, and now they're doing that thing, but there's nobody else to help them with what's next, or to be able to tweak it and then guide them along to realize, no, it doesn't need to be one yo-yo diet to the next, to the next, to the next. It needs now be, all right, what can we do with this? Because this is where you're already seeing push. And we talked about it when we did our big, where we talked about all the trends for 2024, and then we shit on all the trends for 2024.
Yeah.
But it's like these trends are out there, which is like health and wellness and gadgets and all these things that are out there. That's what they're getting. And what will happen is, if someone's used to buying a thing that helps them lose weight, right? There's a reason why this is a multi-billion-dollar industry,
Mhm.
why supplements are so successful. Because then it's why you're buying a new pair of shoes or buying the new tracker or buying the things, like investing in that is psychologically tied into our brains where
A
I
commitment.
invest.
It's a
Right.
form of commitment. Spending money is a form of commitment. It's easier than giving effort every single day consistently all the time when it's hard uphill.
And when someone's brand new to this world, or they're really trying to dip their toe into it, or they've done it before and they got burned, and so it's a lot to get them back in. If I would rather have them be coming into this world with, again, weight loss that really does help them, really do lose weight, to where now they have, you're a guide for them on this journey, and they don't start to get confused because the industry and the media in general, they're not going to differentiate between the import, like the article and the headline talks about how, hey, you have to have as much muscle mass as humanly possible as you age so you don't fall and you don't die. And we see those, and those are coming out. Those are coming out a lot more in just general media, but it's also coming out at the same time that we're promoting the idea that it's equally as important to go out and forest bathe, which I had to fucking look up what the fuck that was, and let Mother Nature like come down upon you while you're in the woods and be able to be grounded. Like, okay, that is important.
Sounds fun.
It's listen, for someone that lives, I live in the mountains. I live in, like, I love going on hikes. I love being outside. I love taking my shoes off and being in the grass and being with my chickens and doing all that shit. But that is not more important than losing the 60 fucking pounds.
I agree.
And media is not differentiating that. We are
Anything that
conflating.
checks a health box, they throw into the same package. It's unfortunate.
And so when we, as fitness professionals and people that know better, just allow the average public to continue to be able to consume on their own, because it's fucking America and they can decide what they're going to consume. But if they're consuming that information, we have to be those beacons. You have to be those lighthouses in the dark and call those shots. Stop being a fucking fence sitter and being lukewarm on these things, which is take a stand and have that stand be towards client results and doing the right thing and multi-generational change. If that is your North Star, now no matter what bullshit gets thrown out there, it's, yeah, great. Like, buy the tracker and start taking daily walks. That's really important. But like, understand, why is that now important? Well, because it leads to weight loss. And that's the fucking headline we saw of talking about the idea that it was like the fucking Ozempic helps with COVID.
Yeah. Like,
It's like,
turns
get the
out
fuck.
Ozempic helps with Ozempic really is helpful with your risk against serious complications of COVID. It's like, well, no. Ozempic buffers you against obesity, which is like the number one comorbidity with you getting all fucked up from COVID. Like, what are we even talking about here? Are they
But
not
back,
connecting these dots?
and the body positivity movement is happening simultaneously the year before, 2 years before that COVID hits. And so now the idea that you can't publicly come out and say, hey, all the fucking fats are dying when they get COVID because they're fucking fat. And it was like, how dare you obesity shame these people? They can't
By the
help it.
way, none of the things that you said in that sentence, unfortunately, are false, right? There's nothing false about saying all these fat people are dying of COVID because they're fat. like that's why they're dying. And to not be able to address that candidly is unfortunate, which is why I don't, for those of you out there, if you're worried about your own marketing or how you communicate, don't play those fucking games. I don't know what to say. Do you want to be on the side of like holding people to a standard that allows them to be obese, and that like we're just going to allow that as like a benchmark for health, or even acceptable when we're talking about an acceptable range of health? No. I'm not saying not everything needs to be all on the quest of abs and jackedness, right? But I do think absolutely do not accept that. Like, I don't need to accept a world where people think that it's okay to be 200 pounds overweight. It doesn't mean you're not a good person. It means that person has something to work on. You guys listen to me talk long enough. Tyler has anger issues. Tyler gets mad sometimes. You got to fucking work on that. You don't have to just be, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be like, it's just the fucking way he is. He's a fucking dick. Well, that seems like that would not be very productive for me, to just lean into the worst parts of myself. And I think that that's what happens when we start pushing body positivity. Yes, you don't need to hate yourself, but I'm going to have to give you a little tip here, guys. Do you know what every person I know who looks real good with their shirt off does very regularly. They look at the mirror and they go, don't like that. I don't like that. This needs to be better. This needs to be better. And maybe it's not about hating yourself. Some of us, maybe it is just a little bit. It's okay. So like, I fucking hate this little chunk of fucking fat that I got sitting right here. You know what I'm going to do? Something about it, right?
Yep.
Not I'm just going to sit here and hate myself and then just ignore it when it fucking becomes 5 times the size. That's not what we're trying to do here. And I think that we are in a position now to where there are medications there that when people have had enough of actually living like that, it will give it truly, it will give them the gift getting that weight off. Now it's your job to make sure that they earn the right to keep it. I think that's extremely important, that they know how to keep it and that they earn the right to keep it. Because if they don't earn the right to keep it, once that medication is gone, they will get exactly what they earn. You will always get what you deserve. So if the medication comes back out and someone is just eats all at their whims now with the filter gone, you know, the weight's going to come back on. Maybe not all, but they're going to settle into, you will always have the physique that you deserve. Or what people say. That's what you're putting in and what you're doing. This is pretty easy math here.
And we talk about all the time, like marketing 101 is you don't want to have to, somebody has to be on the verge to ready to take that step. And if you spend too much time trying to pull people to the stage in which they are now ready or they're thinking about it, you're not going to get somebody that's kind of thinking about it or starting to research it. They're not your potential member. They're just not. They're not going to come be your client. They have to have done the research. They have to have thought about it. And then they have to be ready to take a step. And now you are there.
You know what? What do you suppose about, what does that say then about the person who's gone so far as to go and meet with a doctor and get medication and poke themselves in the butt cheek to solve this problem?
Exactly.
They've already taken that first step, but now they're sitting there with nothing but opportunity and progress and momentum. Who's gonna help them take that momentum and to turn it into something serious, turn it into something they can keep forever, turn it into something bigger, better? That's our mission here, guys. This is the revolution we're talking about. Is not, listen, we're going to have to deal with the world that we live in, and we're trying to make it better. That's the goal. Gym owners revolution. That's what we're trying to do here. So that's all it is. So people are taking these drugs. How do we help them? That's it. That's it. People take steroids too. Can you help them? Literally, you're going to not work with someone because they're on TRT? Fuck you. What a dork you are. Dude, get out of here. Like,
we did a whole episode on that idea of like, because these are people that are right within your range. And guess what? Now you're as long as you now are in tune with what you believe in, what fitness means to you, how you craft your particular methods and all those things, now it works. And you all know what it's like. You know, when someone that walks into your world and they start interacting with you, and it just is like everything is clicking, man. Like it just is. There's literally not I love to say, right? Which is they're an assumed close. Someone that walks in that's that ready, they are ready to buy. It just is how much they're going to spend with you. And because of that case, and because of that fact, leverage that. That's what your marketing is. That's who you want to be attracting. And as long as you are now targeting those people correctly, talking about it the right way, being that beacon, now you are able to combat all the bullshit that's out there. Because how many more articles do you have to read, or how many headlines do you have to come across that's 4 in 10 cancer cases, nearly half of cancer deaths linked to lifestyle, 6 benefits of outdoor exercise, doing everyday chores isn't enough to protect you from stroke, sit a lot, exercise might offset the damage to your health. No fucking shit. No shit. You know that. And these same people are coming across those same headlines, or they're not. But those headlines aren't enough. So the problem is you can rail about this shit and complain about it, but if you're not trying to grab that lowest hanging fruit and give those people an easy path to come walk with you, now you miss out on it. And all you do is rail and all you do is complain, where instead you could just go do, get these people in, give them that clear path, because wins stack on top of each other in that lifelong journey that they're going to take with you. You got them the wins. You helped them when they were ready. And then guess what? Now you get to introduce them to fucking ice baths and sauna and fucking having the palm leaves rub on their face, like whatever it is. Cool, because that makes them healthier. But you don't get to take them to the most extreme random shit if they can't do the most basic up front.
And I want one more point to make here on the weight loss drugs before we go. The people that take these drugs that have wild success, people are going to ask them about their success. Right? You can tell them what they did. Now, people in my experience, when people that have lost a ton of weight who are also on Ozempic, they'll get, not every person who asked them, but lots of people who asked them will also say, were you on the juice? Did you get on the shot? Did you get on that shot? All of my guys would say, oh yeah, definitely. And then there's a conversation. How is it? It was really good. Like these people are out here. Their success is selling these medications to other people. Their success is doing the job for the pharmaceutical company, which is fine. There's other people in that situation. They're going to talk. If you see someone who's lost 100 pounds who you knew and you have friends in common with, and you see them for the first time, next time you see those, friends that you have in common with them, you're going to go, holy shit. Like, did you see that? Have you seen him lately? Oh, he looks great. Oh, I heard he's on the medication. Everybody will be gossiping about it. The judgment's going to start going away when half the people in that gossip circle are also on that same medication. So there's no judgment on the medication anymore. That's going to be gone very, very, very quickly from the public perception. And what is then going to happen is they're going to talk about what else they're doing and what they're doing now. Now it's all those other things. I work with a coach on my nutrition, Tyler. He does a really good job. He told me kind of what to eat. Make sure I got enough protein, and I weigh myself every day. I check this. I work out with him 2 times a week. And that is the stuff that they're all going to take away, because the weight loss drug is going to be a given at some point. It's going to be so easy to get. So many people are going to be taking it, again, until the world drops out, on the bottom drops out underneath this thing, and everybody gets brain cancer or something from it. But until then, man, none of us are in position to write those prescriptions. So we're just here to help the people. Do your best to help them become successful. You won't regret it. And these are good people that are like making good progress. Help them keep it. Because one of the worst things I think we can do is give a person hope, like really give them results, really give them hope, and have that be false and have that be taken away from them. Just think of how big and how rough your journey has to be for a lot of people to have tried 100 different things before they're finally going to go out and get some shot that they know nothing about to help them lose weight. While for many people, that's a commitment that's just frivolous. For a lot of people, that takes a lot of work and a lot of effort and a lot of pain and a lot of it's a big moment for them to finally take this step. This step is a huge moment. Those people need help. Okay. Because if this now happens and they get this result and they get this hope and they think that it's there to stay, none of it was explained to them. They didn't learn from this experience from someone who's taken other people through it, and they put all that weight back on. Then we're worried about suicide rates, not obesity rate, in my opinion. I think that's going to be the biggest hang up with this, is if there's a big rubber band effect from people not building habits. Now we're going to have we're going to exacerbate the mental health crisis, and the mental health crisis that's already very well associated with obesity. Let's not pretend like this is not a mental health issue, because it is. So thanks a lot for listening, everybody. We love you guys. We'll see you next week. Want to work with us directly? Send us a message at the Gym Owners Podcast on Instagram. I'm Tyler. Find me at Tyler F. and Stone. That's Tyler EFFI and Stone. And John.
And you can follow me at JBanksFL.
Almost got the full hour in. Nice. We're running along. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.